This is Top Accolade Global News Update. I am Abiodun Mohammed. Kiev will aim to secure the reopening of food and grain transit via Poland as a first step at talks in Warsaw on Monday, Ukraine's agriculture minister said. After Poland and Hungary announced bans on some imports from Ukraine, some Black Sea ports were blocked after Russia's invasion of Ukraine last year, and large quantities of Ukrainian grain, which is cheaper than that produced in the European Union, ended up staying in Central European countries because of logistical bottlenecks. This hit prices and sales for local farmers. Ukraine usually exports most of its agricultural goods, especially grain, via its Black Sea ports, which were unblocked last July in line with an agreement between Ukraine, Turkey, Russia, and the United Nations. In quote, "The first step, in our opinion, should be the opening of transit because it is quite important, and it is the thing that should be done unconditionally, and after that we will talk about other things," Agriculture Minister Mykola Solski said. He added that deliveries to Hungary accounted for around 6% of Ukraine's farm exports. Solski said that Ukrainian food transit via Hungary and Slovakia was unaffected. He also said there would be additional talks this week in Romania on Wednesday and in Slovakia on Thursday. At least 4 people were killed and 28 wounded in a shooting that erupted during a late-night Sweet 16 birthday celebration at a dance studio in the small town of Dadville, Alabama. State police and local news media said on Sunday some of the injured were critically wounded during the shooting in East Central Alabama, about 60 miles northeast of the state capital of Montgomery. There was no official word on what led to the gun violence. Authorities said the shooting started shortly after 10 p.m. CT on Saturday, but it declined to answer questions or provide further details during 2 Sunday news conferences. Officials said there was no longer any threat to the community, but did not say whether a suspect has been killed or arrested. The Montgomery Advertiser newspaper reported that one of the 4 people killed during the violence was a high school football player who was among those attending his sister's Sweet 16 birthday party when a gunman opened fire. The newspaper, quoting the victim's grandmother, identified the slain teenager as Theodora, whom she said was set to graduate in a matter of weeks and planned to attend Jacksonville State University on a football scholarship. Sudan's army appeared to gain the upper hand on Sunday in a bloody power struggle with rival paramilitary forces pounding their bases with airstrikes, said witnesses. At least 97 civilians had been killed and 365 injured since the fighting in Sudan started, said one doctors group. The fighting erupted on Saturday between army units loyal to General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, head of Sudan's Transitional Governing Sovereign Council, and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces (RSF), led by General Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo, known as Emeti, who is deputy head of the council. It was the first such outbreak since both joined forces to oust veteran Islamist autocrat Omar Hassan al-Bashir in 2019 and was sparked by a disagreement over the integration of the RSF into the military as part of a transition towards civilian rule. Burhan and Emeti agreed a 3-hour pause in fighting from 4 p.m. local time to allow humanitarian evacuations proposed by the United Nations, the UN mission in Sudan said, but the deal was widely ignored after a brief period of relative calm. As night fell, residents reported the boom of artillery and roar of warplanes in the Kafuri district of Bahri, which has an RSF base across the Nile River from the capital Khartoum. Eyewitnesses told newsmen the army was renewing airstrikes on RSF bases in Omdurman, Khartoum's sister city across the Nile, and the Kafuri and Shag El Nil district of adjacent Bahri, putting RSF fighters to flight. The US warship USS Myanmar'S sailed through the Taiwan Strait on Sunday in what the US Navy described on Monday as a routine transit just days after China ended its latest war games around the island. China, which views Taiwan as its own territory, officially ended its 3 days of exercises around Taiwan last Monday, where it practiced precision strikes and blockading the island. It staged the drills to express anger at Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen's meeting with US House of Representatives Speaker Kevin McCarthy, viewing it as an interference in China's internal affairs and US support for Taiwan's separate identity from China. The US Navy's 7th Fleet said the Arleigh-Burke-class guided missile destroyer USS Myanmar's conducted a routine Taiwan Strait transit through waters where IC's freedoms of navigation and overflight apply in accordance with international law. The ship's transit demonstrates the United States' commitment to a free and open Indo-Pacific, it added. Chinese military's Eastern Theater Command said in a social media post on Monday it organized troops to follow and monitor the US destroyer throughout its operation. Taiwan's defense ministry said the ship sailed in a northerly direction through the strait and that during its transit, the situation in the strait was as normal. The US Navy sails warships through the strait around once a month and also regularly conducts similar freedom of navigation missions in the disputed South China Sea. Myanmar's military has announced plans to release 3,113 prisoners, including 98 foreigners, to mark the country's traditional New Year. A statement by the military on Monday did not specify whether those imprisoned for opposing its power grab in February 2021 would be freed. The military has jailed thousands of opponents and pro-democracy activists since it seized power and brutally put down protests, including by killing some 3,240 civilians, according to activists. Lieutenant General Aung Dwe, a spokesman for the military, said that the amnesty is a celebration of Myanmar's New Year to bring joy for the people and address humanitarian concerns. Those who reoffend would have to serve the remainder of their sentence with an additional penalty, he said. There were no additional details. The Assistance Association for Political Prisoners, an activist group, said at least 17,460 people who were arrested for opposing the coup remain in detention. Among them is toppled leader Aung San Suu Kyi, a Nobel laureate and figurehead of opposition to military rule, who is serving 33 years in prison after a marathon of trials condemned internationally as a sham. That is the size of top accolade global news updates. You can follow us on our social media platforms as displayed on your screen. Happy New Week!